Hello and welcome to this final free episode of TF with me on it for the year. And before we open, I would just also like to say huge congratulations to Gabriel Boric in Chile for winning a at least social democratic majority in a country that is going to re-examine the Constitution that was basically written in the blood of striking workers by Milton Friedman himself. So best of luck to him. Congratulations. Anyway, let's get to the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of TF.
Yeah, fucking hello.
What? Huh?
Huh?
It's
I
another.
removed the fucking world is not enough half from the drops and fucking make room for the Nick Clegg one you wanted, but here.
Thank you for not removing it. Did you remove the guy? The also from the drops?
Oh, I can give you the
Jonathan Price kung fu
I can
noises.
give you Jonathan Price kung fu noises. Absolutely. That's not the right one.
No, that's
that's
You never said he was good at doing them.
That's so good.
That's from GoldenEye, isn't it?
Oh,
there you
right.
go. It's TF.
I almost said Vincent Price for a second.
Yeah, the Vincent Price movie.
He's called Dracula 007.
Oh my. All right. Look. I want to play a Christmas game. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
The Christmas game. It's the anagram game, like from The Simpsons.
Wait a second. Is this gathering of ours legal? Since we're doing it for work purposes as a Christmas party.
I'm sure there are, a bunch of people taking pictures of it that are going to give it to our friends.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, then gonna betray us in the style of the popular television show Succession, where a bunch of rich people
my friend
betray each
Allegra
other.
comes. She's a bit down.
Yeah, just make sure she's like recorded herself like making fun of people who might be worried about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we should.
Just to really sort of get the vibe going.
That shit was so funny. Like, conveniently, we make these compromat tapes of everyone who works for us. So if anyone needs to be in a kind of wolf throwing type situation.
Well, it's sort of like a reputational tontine, except everyone reputationally dies. That's it.
Every time you get into Downing Street, in order to get in the door, you have to say the hard R into a video.
There's got to be a video of you dropping a load of slurs.
It's a voice recognition log, and that's the opening phrase.
Captain's log, Stardust.
Yeah, you want to come into work, don't you? If you don't want to open the door, I'm sure we could hire someone who wants it more than you.
That's such a great libertarian thought experiment. Okay, so let's just say hypothetically, you're trying to get into your office.
Yeah, what if the only way to unlock your office is to say a slur?
Yeah, that's right. No, right. Look, we're gonna play the anagram game. It's a Christmas game. And it's Delta Omicron. This game was already played, by the way, by Lord Ashcroft, potentially one of the most respected of mainstream British pollsters. Former chairman of the
pages written about him being this sort of like Svengali-like figure.
Yeah, the guy from The Verve, Lord Ashcroft.
a guy who, again, is generally seen as a respectable establishment figure who can be sort of trusted with sussing out public opinion, and who also is a billionaire. Someone
and
who,
crucially, is not totally out of his mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very normal man.
Yeah. So he, I love this. He just posted on Twitter the words Delta Omicron with anagrammed to media control. And it's like, yeah, man, you cracked it. I love how influential you are in the direction of the politics of this country.
Great.
There was a reply to this that was just the greatest ethering I've ever seen on Twitter.com. Where someone just replied with a picture of how you could anagramize his name to be Dr. Fart School. And they replied with just that and nothing else. I was like, this is what this website exists for. This is the pinnacle of posting.
I think it's fun to call him to call Lord Ashcroft Dr. Fart School, but it's also fun again to just one of the, I don't know, of all of the let's say downsides generally, much explored in the last probably decade of social media. I'd say there is nothing that compares to the great and the good of our sort of polities, just sort of genuinely showing what fucking nitwits they are on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
It's great.
And Twitter, that's the thing that Twitter's been revelatory for. It's its only real, like, material change in the world, aside from, like, Trump tweets, is just a perfect insight into all of these people's brains, which are not good.
Yeah.
Not healthy.
No, not at all. Anyway, all right. Let's talk about some stuff. Some Britishness.
Yeah, let's talk about some noises that Jonathan Pryce made in the film Tomorrow Never Dies.
Welcome to Kill James Bond.
That's right.
Anagramize that.
No. Look. Some politics has continued to carry on. There's been a by-election, for example.
Yeah, there has been. In fucking North Somerset,
North Shropshire. Yeah.
North Shropshire is in a sense very North Somerset.
That's true.
Like if you start at North Somerset and you just keep going north, you'll get there.
North Somerset. It's like North Macedonia.
Every constituency in the country should be defined by its relationship to Somerset. Or that's my new take.
Look,
Scotland or North Somerset.
Look,
yeah, that's right. All the postcodes should be like Somerset something.
The only thing I care about is West Suffolk still has our boy there.
Oh yeah, baby.
Look, just keep him in safe seats. That's all I care about.
Well, there's no such thing anymore now.
Yeah, well,
because
indeed.
one of the safest Tory seats in the country, a seat that has voted Conservative for 200 years, is now in the hands...
Drowning in piss.
Now drowning under a yellow piss sea of liberal democracy.
That's right. But I think, look, so to give you a little bit of background, and we talked about this the other day, right? That there was this by-election coming up after another by-election that was just a fucking damp squib of 30 some odd % turnout. And we're looking at this other by-election in North Shropshire. It was Owen Patterson's constituency, and the Conservatives were absolutely fucking drubbed. Where they 20,000 majority was reduced to a distant second. As Alice said, constituency has voted Conservative for centuries. And
the Lib Dem now has a majority of 8,000, which is comfortable by anyone's standards.
Yeah. But the thing I think, and a lot of people are sort of saying, "Oh, what does this mean? What does this mean? Boris is done." And it's like, because people started writing about him accurately. I mean,
he's done because he's it's been decided that he's done. Is the thing.
This is what I say, right? This is I think I've said this a couple times before, as we've been sort of charting sort of the expiration of Boris Johnson or the apparent expiration of Boris Johnson as a political force, is that this is not a win for the politics of public accountability or any of these things that liberals love so well. This is simply just a coup. This is elite rearrangement. It's an elite squabble. You wonder
to do my favorite Simpsons joke: a bloodless coup, all smotherings.
But I think the thing that people aren't sort of talking about enough is that the turnout at this by-election was 7-8% higher than the turnout at the last by-election. So it's still 40, early 40s%. Cool. This is just
the
a turnout that's kind of just starting to lose its hair.
Yeah. So apathy wins, basically.
Correct. Yes. If let's just not have an MP was a party, it would win.
Yeah, that would be a cool party. Actually, I would vote for that. No MPs.
Yeah.
It's genuinely been boosted sometimes that we should have a none of the above thing on a ballot paper, which would be fucking wild.
I mean, except for the fact, think about everyone who votes for the none of the above on the ballot paper would be the biggest nerd at the anarchist house.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the person that's really, really worried about the chore wheel. And it's like, buddy, you live in an anarchist house. Stop worrying about the chore wheel. That's there for show. Look, you're not supposed to have a clean sink in an anarchist house, all right?
Listen, what is a chore wheel but a state of permanent revolution?
That's right. Anyway,
it's a wheel.
Look, so the Lib Dems took the seat, and again, there. Once again, I feel like the Lib Dems are sort of addicted to, of all of the parties in British politics, of all of the sort of terrible stars in our shitty firmament. The Lib Dems are the most obsessed with visual, like very strange visual metaphors. If you remember, Tim Farron
they love
destroyed a wall of like blue boxes with a tiny hammer.
Yeah, with Layla Morin. Yeah.
That's right. Like a little ball peen hammer. Just look at this plunking away there. It was cool. And they did it again. Did either of you see what it was?
Yeah, it was Boris's bubble.
Balloon.
They got a big like blue testicle.
Yeah, and they burst it. Their winning candidate burst the blue testicle with like a foot-long needle. Great.
Yeah, it was a big needle.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And that's like that's the only way you can get rid of those apparently in this country now because they keep reforming it. Look. So, it seems as though this is a moment for the Conservatives to understand, that their leader has kind of served this purpose. Fine,
but also this is the Lib Dems fulfilling their eternal role in British politics after Nick Clegg, which is to be a supporting character in Tory the musical. This exists less as a piece of external political calculus and more as something that Tories can knife each other with.
And yet, simultaneously, it's funny how I think the Lib Dems go through these kind of it's like a fairly short life cycle of about 15 years, where they go from being a joke and then almost all the way around to being quite plausible. Now, the last time they were there was just before the 2010 general election, right? The kind of the I agree with Nick period. And then they fuck it or get fucked over and they go back to being completely implausible, but they slowly creep up. And I think now we're getting towards the kind of proto-plausible era of Lib Dems again, because the Labour Party is such a joke and the Lib Dems have so few seats that the Lib Dems are actually able to at least formulate policy which opposes the government, whereas Labour are so wrapped up in basically being the same as the government, because that's what being a grown-up is, that they're kind of making the Lib Dems look good. The Lib Dems will at least occasionally go, no, we don't agree with that, actually, don't do that.
But then, of course...
Ed Davey going on TV to say, actually, I don't welcome the Prime Minister. And getting a fucking standing ovation.
Yeah. And it's funny because they're also the party who've made this big bubble that they're going to burst with a big needle. But they're currently the closest thing to an opposition that we have.
Well, I think it's always important to remember, right, that that no matter what they say or do, it's a party that exists. The British political...
The Washington Generals.
The British political sort of firmament is made up of different machines to channel, quash, and destroy any kind of, say, material politics.
This machine quashes you off.
Yeah. So once... I think it's important to not imagine that, say, that they're going to be any kind of... I think, look, I'd say the concept of progressive alliance, anytime it is bandied about, that includes the Lib Dems, is, laughable because...
it's been very funny watching Keir Starmer try to go, yeah, no, totally, there was an unspoken alliance here, man.
With Labour going down to just single digits is very funny.
They were never going to have a good time in fucking... North Shropshire, right? But
Scotland?
Yeah, exactly, that too.
Yeah.
But no, come on, dude. There wasn't an unspoken alliance.
South Lanarkshire, North Shropshire.
Everyone just fucking hates you.
Yeah.
I think there's an element of like there probably were a fair number of Labour voters who voted Lib Dem because they thought that would be like a tactically astute thing to do, to fuck over the Tories.
Sure, and like Starmer people, the kind of people who like Keir Starmer do absolutely love falling for only the Lib Dems can win here, vote for the Lib Dems.
And also I think the other important thing to remember is don't forget is that no matter what the Lib Dems say in campaign mode, they'll just do whatever they want in government, as we remember,
of course.
because the kind of person who would become a Lib Dem is
a weasel.
A weasel, an absolute fucking weasel. So the fact that they seem like more of an opposition now is just because they are, if anything, weaselier than the Labour right, which is actually genuinely committed to its ideology of fucking sucking.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're weaselier than the Labour right. They're kind of like, they're a bit like a Mad Hatter party. Like they're such a weird kind of conglomeration of like different types of guy. Like you've got your kind of like weird sort of like Vickers T-boy types like Tim Farron and Ed Davey, and then you've got your kind of like posho eccentrics like Paddy Ashdown, right? And then you've got your kind of like straightforward liberals like Layla Moran. Like they're quite an interesting hodgepodge.
All the weirdest people that I've ever known in British politics have been Lib Dems. So yeah,
drunks like fucking Charles Kennedy.
I absolutely think that the first person in British Parliament to like make being Polly a big part of their political identity will be a Lib Dem for sure.
Oh, 100%. Yes. And I hope it's Danny Alexander. R.I.P.
So look, I mean, I think this when we talk about the whole thing of an anti-Tory alliance, it's like, well, hang on a second. It's sort of, what is that actually? Because this is again something that gets bandied about by some of the dumbest people in British politics. This idea that yes, there must be an anti-Tory alliance because there's Tories and not Tories, because politics is about either being mean and incompetent or being nice and competent. But like,
I mean, this aids the Lib Dems sort of pretensions to seriousness too, where so long as they can sort of and on pretend that they're considering their options, and maybe there'll be like a power broker who can even go into coalition with Labour if need be. And it's like, no, you won't do that because you had your chance and you did exactly the opposite.
Exactly, and this is,
just instinctually. So.
And the people who are pushing this are the same people who keep getting fucking like, whose job is just to get like tricked, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. This is sort of setting up a sort of like Charlie Brown kicks the football sort of situation.
And whenever I think of this, the whole sort of progressive alliance argument, I tend to think, well, hang on a sec. What do they actually mean? Do they mean, for example, like do they mean thinking about how power actually works? Do they mean thinking about sort of how the economy actually works? Do they mean sort of making like fundamental changes? It's like, well, no. They mean let's put the nice people in charge, and they're going to all get into a really durable coalition of like 4 or 5 parties, one of whom it's going to be conditional on getting an independence vote, at least one, maybe 2. Yep. And then that's all that has to happen. But the thing is, And I feel like no one pushing this has really thought about what that means, thought about what governing that means. But the thing is, right, for someone like Starmer, there is no chance of sitting on the other side of the dispatch box except by doing that. Because he's basically he has the politics of a brand. He's like, well, enough people like our brand. If we can combine with all the other brands, then maybe we can join some kind of holding company, and then administer the country like a tech company, but be a little more competent about it than the other guys. And I mean, this sort of it puts me in mind actually. I was thinking about this ever since I saw that video of the French army officer doing donuts outside the refugee camp in Calais.
You've just been thinking,
du drift.
You've just been thinking about that all day, huh?
Yes, that's right.
Drift Japanois.
If you're not familiar with this, what happened was that a bunch of French soldiers who were on counter-terrorism duty managed to get hold of a jeep and just did donuts in a muddy field outside the refugee camp in Calais, and then immediately got the jeep stuck in the mud.
Yeah, he was doing Canadian culture. That guy was on exchange from the French-Canadian army.
I mean, and, look, you don't know why he was doing the donuts. I mean, look, it's a French counterterrorism officer. It's been deployed to fucking Calais. I think you can probably guess. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking about this as well, right? That if you were determined to not allow your politics to have a kind of material basis, then really what you're sort of arguing about is why you're doing the donuts. Are you doing donuts in the Thames to make people feel better about COVID? Are you doing donuts to own the refugees? Are you doing donuts to protest that McDonald's makes you wear a mask? Are you doing donuts in the parking lot of, like, I don't know, Fox News because you don't like Tucker Carlson? It's just this, it's all the same donuts if your politics has no material basis. And the Progressive Alliance is just more sort of talk of, well, we're gonna do good donuts in Parliament Square. Right. I don't know. That's what I've been thinking about all day.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to get the ferry and we're going to do donuts in honor of Captain Tom.
Yeah, we're going to do donuts in honor of how Captain Tom brought us together rather than in honor of how Captain Tom made us feel good to be British. That's the difference.
Killed by British Airways.
But you get what I mean. It's just it's all just donuts, but you feel differently doing them.
Yeah, it's trivial. Sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why I think like the real number to think about in North Shropshire isn't Lib Dem or Conservative. I think Labour is instructive and very funny, but it's the under 50%. This is a highly politicized, extremely charged environment where the narrative is everyone cares, everyone's desperate to get rid of Boris Johnson. This is their chance to register a protest against him. Apathy wins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no one gives a fuck. I mean, that's what we've been saying the whole time, right? Whenever the media have been out in force, being like, "Well, the Christmas party is surely the final straw," and it's like, no one cares. No one's interested. No one gives a fuck.
And I mean, look, the thing is, I think like it certainly can be. It certainly can be made to give a fuck, but you're sort of energizing people who kind of already have they're already politically aligned.
It's like diminishing returns, right? All the people who it could have been like sufficiently exercising to like vote have already been thoroughly like they've had this like thrown in their faces. Like there's nothing further to be gained politically from like continuing this Christmas party shit other than to build support in fucking WhatsApp groups of Tory MPs.
Oh, you want to talk about WhatsApp groups?
The referendum may be over, but those people are still barking.
You want to talk about WhatsApp groups, Alice?
I very much want to talk about WhatsApp groups.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about Steve Baker.
We had some leaks from a WhatsApp group rather fancifully entitled "Clean Global Brexit."
Perfect. No notes.
Yes, which has a shitload of Tory MPs in it, and which had a bit of sort of drama in it. Riley, do you want to read these transcripts that we have here?
I do, but and I want to say this really gives. Before I do, I want to say this gives credence to my theory that the collapse of the British and American sort of systems of doing politics that we've become familiar with is following the Western and Eastern Roman Empire pattern, where in the West, in America, there's just the sort of sudden collapse of the state's ability to sort of, do things. That's just, there's the as we talked about with Patrick Wyman many times, right? This idea of just the pullback of authority and administration, allowing more things to just be left in the hand, to be determined locally, all this stuff. Just a society that is turning itself off quite rapidly. And then in the East,
that will happen when you start thinking about Steve Baker.
In the East, in the UK, we have just like dozens of eunuchs all knifing one another because of 13 different plots that all of them are involved in.
Oh, absolutely.
So many plots and not a bollock between them.
Sort of WhatsApp slap fights.
So
which is great.
Yeah.
Can
I say just off the top about what I love whenever there's a screenshot from any like Tory MP WhatsApp group is how fucking boomer it all is. And like just the fact that like whoever what's funny is you don't know who has taken these screenshots, but these screenshots are almost an own of them because they're the one with the incredibly boomer WhatsApp style. Like they've spelt Nadine Dorris's name wrong, and they've done that thing boomers do where they've saved her name with like a space at the end, so there's like too big of a gap between Nadine and Doris when her name comes up.
Yeah, she's Nadine space Doris.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Doris. Nadine Dobby the house elf.
All right. So basically this is all about so Nipsistarios Marcus Fish is talking about the retirement of Ostiarios Frost.
Lord Frost, the
Lord
Brexit
Frost.
minister who has like resigned in a way to try and shaft Boris Johnson. Ahead of having to do an embarrassing U-turn about the Brexit deal he negotiated, and also to try and protest authoritarian COVID measures and not doing enough fucking supply side economics.
Yeah, exactly. So Marcus Fish says, Frost is a hero and 100% right on this. The whole point of Brexit is radical supply-side reform and moving away from the EU model, yet ministers are happy to just give hard-won power put in their hands to achieve this to officials who will do the opposite.
Looking forward to seeing that fucking beamed in like 72,000 point font on the side of the Houses of Parliament by fucking led by donkeys.
Yeah, the people walking by are just like, oh, the point was radical change. Great, good. Thank you, led by donkeys. I support it now.
Supply side economics. Why didn't anyone fucking tell me this?
Yeah, it's amazing the extent to which these people don't even understand their own electorate. Incredible.
So, Nadine Space Doris, keeper of the imperial vestments, and also holding 3 poisoned knives, one of which she's not aware the handle is actually poisoned. Says,
and to be fair to Nadine Dorris, the woman who basically gave the Prime Minister COVID, so we've got to credit her with something.
Yeah. An unwitting pawn in a scheme to assassinate the Prime Minister.
She had a bloody good go, and fair play.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Says, the hero is the Prime Minister who delivered Brexit. I'm aware, as someone said today, that regicide is in the DNA of the Conservative Party.
May?
And yeah, it's true. Regicide is in the DNA of the Conservative Party. They love killing their leaders. But a bit of loyalty to the person who won an 83 majority and delivered Brexit wouldn't go amiss, at which point she was promptly removed by Steve Baker.
My favorite is Steve Baker going, enough is enough. Quos quae tandem, Nadine Doris space abutere patientia nostra.
So look. I mean, there is this. It's this thing that you see. Like, there's the thing to understand, right? Is that there is this fracture that's happening in the Conservative Party, because there's always a fracture that's happening in the Conservative Party, because for the last, I don't know, do you want to call it 30, 20, 40, depending on when you want to start your counter, years?
200 years.
Yeah. I mean, I think I tend to think...
It's Europe that gave them the real brain madness. And that's the sort of thing that we're talking about here, is that there's this faction, there's an eternal faction of plotters within the Conservative Party who, like, always want to drive it suicidally rightwards in order to, like, do more supply side shit. Like, there's sort of your Cameronism on one hand, which is we want to do some evil, but like in a sort of like self-perpetuating way, which has something to do with like the business of governing,
sustainable evil.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course we saw Cameronism incinerate itself at the hands of like guys like this who are like, no, you have to do 1973 Chile. That's the only kind of economy that I want to live in, and if it takes absolutely fucking everything else to do it, then I'm quite happy.
Yeah, there's a faction of the Conservative Party that will not be happy until there are people being thrown out of a helicopter which was built by British Leyland, which has been resurrected, and therefore there's no point chucking someone out of the helicopter because the helicopter is about to crash.
Yeah, it's if you want to give. if you want to leave no loose ends, a British Leyland helicopter is perfect.
The fucking like English sparkling wine ISIS here. Did give us
a honeymoon gift you can get that says, "I'm not sure about this marriage."
Did give us another sort of very led by donkey screenshot, because immediately after kicking Nadine Dorris from the group chat, Steve Baker says, the majority was won for many reasons. Among them, two were critical. One, the deal Boris voted for was rejected. Two, someone, brackets, ahem, but not him, persuaded Farage not to run against incumbents. If Boris hadn't benefited from both, we would be on the other benches.
And look, the other thing about Steve Baker to remember is he's a fucking idiot.
Well, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I think the thing to look at there, right? There's a number of things to look at. Number one, I think it's absolutely true that I think the Conservative Party is driven by its complete fucking lunatics, and I think that's true. I also think that it's not helpful to say
fucking Jabato nutcase, and like to a certain extent, I think also we have to consider them to be like contiguous with UKIP or fucking Reform UK or whoever the fuck the like wingnut party of the day are, because they're totally like manipulatable and like exchangeable between each other.
But I think the thing to remember, right, is that doesn't mean that the ones that aren't these people are somehow good and would govern differently without them. The ones who aren't these people desperately need these people so that their project has momentum. It's not that these are people being dragged away by wild horses. This is a cart and a horse. These are the horses that are taking the others, who are the cart, towards their desired political objective.
It's two guys both trying to take each other hostage at the same time.
But all too happy to do it because they're somehow in some kind of a scheme that makes them both rich because they both have insurance that's complementary. Anyway, look, I think this is the way I see this, right? This sort of, as you say, English sparkling white ISIS it's the same kind of contradiction resolver that happens to give us vigilantism, right? Where there are cynical demands, high-profile demands by think tanks and papers and pundits and politicians that create a right-wing utopian vision that would only be available if authority will simply act a little bit more.
Yeah,
right?
The
if it
black
simply...
banners of Khorasan are going to fucking ride and take over the New Rome. And Range Rover mums will like drive over big trenches of Insulate Britain protesters.
But I think it's genuinely like it's this mismatch of what is being demanded in a quite kind of frantic fashion by respectable quote unquote opinion formers on the right, and again all of the liberals who are just again taken in by these people, gladly taken in by these people. Which has this sense that if only they would allow, I don't know, the police, if only they'd bring back hanging, if only they'd allow you to shoot, if the police could shoot protesters on sight.
Whatever red meat thing. It could be fucking anything.
And
it will be.
Yeah. Or any and it's usually a constitutional change. It is if
bring
the
back breaking people on the wheel. That's my new party.
And like what the Conservative Party's history is a succession of people who are normal enough to get to leadership level, but are also deluded enough to think that they can ride these fucking nutcases like a horse to power. And so the next thing is going to be fucking, I don't know, Priti Patel bringing back hanging after Boris Johnson gets ousted. And it's like, I mean, what can you even say by this point? I
mean, look, I think prediction is a mug's game, and I think it's hard to predict who's going to be.
It's not going to be Priti Patel. It's going to be the fucking Chancellor of the Exchequer. He's going to do like a business-friendly supply side thing. It's going to have just enough red meat. That's my prediction.
Well, the thing is, it will until it won't, because fundamental dynamic of the politics in this country being propelled by wild horses rightward, and if you want to, not go with the wild horses, then of course, again, you're going to be kicked from the wagon by an immune system.
Well, here's where I sort of disagree, in that, like, Okay, this dialectic of like the two guys fucking holding each other at gunpoint, it's very stupid. We agree on that, but like it's fucking working for them, and it has done for a long time. And the idea that like, oh well, at some point it has to implode. Well, says who? Like, at what point does Britain just become too fast, too dumb, too loud for it to be sustainable?
Well, it only implodes in the micro sense, right?
Yeah.
Well, it blows up in the face of the current incumbents of the Conservative Party, but the party itself soldiers on. It's just that, like, the regicide becomes, like, exponentially more frequent. It doesn't cause them to lose any elections or anything. It just, like, they get into this kind of, like, Mad Max type situation where every leader of the Conservative Party is just, like, screaming, "Witness me," spraying the shit on their mouth and then dying instantly before being replaced by someone identical.
Yeah, it's because I don't think that this necessarily unstable. In fact, it's a very stable system. It's why it's so hard to dislodge, except by imitating a part of it and trying to slip into where the Conservative Party is by being shaped exactly like them.
I look forward to Prime Minister Otho, Prime Minister Galba.
Vespasian. We're going to have them all.
Absolutely.
I think personally that this is why Keir Starmer has to keep welcoming them.
Yeah,
because there's always a new guy.
Absolutely.
I welcome the Prime Minister. Hello, we've not spoken before.
At this point, there's gonna be a new Prime Minister by the time he's finished welcoming them.
Yeah, that's right. He's just going to be saying welcome all day long.
Yeah, I mean, Britain 2100 is still an incredibly conservative country. We just have 4 prime ministers a second.
That would be cool.
At some point, we're going to have some kind of quantum of prime ministers.
Yeah, we have a sort of extremely like fast stream of prime ministers. It's more of a collective consciousness, really.
And look, so this is where I think that, sort of circling back to this talk of like the Progressive Alliance, the electoral pact between the Greens, the Lib Dems, and sort of Labour, if it's right wing enough, is why it's sort of so naive. It's because it doesn't reckon with all of the other organs of government of this country that have created the dynamic that we just described as the stable one.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it absolutely hasn't done that. All right, can we talk about Nick Clegg? I want to talk about Nick Clegg. Nicholas Clegg.
Nicholas Clegg.
I agree with Nick.
I have a little drop here, a little amuse-bouche for you, if you'd like to hear it. Presented without context.
If I'm lifting my head, it's because I'm drinking my coffee, and this wretched headset is too bulky for me to drink my coffee without moving the headset. So don't think I'm craning my neck weirdly.
I mean, I think that's quite funny, but I think it was weirder that he followed it up by saying,
that headset was a little bit tight.
Wrestling with a headphone cable.
That's right. That's the noise I make when I do that.
Didn't that sound great? Just like two people hanging out in real life?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I particularly like when Nick Clegg said,
"This wretched headset."
It's very, very Colin Firth diction on this wretched headset.
It's like that is like something a Tory backbench MP would say on a Zoom call. There's newfangled business. I love the metaverse, man. It's so cool. I love being in like the Nintendo Wii fucking Financial Times office.
So look, this is from an FT article by Henry Mance, who interviews Nick Clegg, entitled "My Trip into the Metaverse with Facebook Defender-in-Chief Nick Clegg." And indeed, the video of them actually talking does start with them having a difficult and stupid time with all of the dumb bullshit that makes the metaverse.
Yeah, everyone's constantly vibrating in the metaverse. This is something we learned from this video. It's just very funny every time you get reminded that Nick Clegg works for Facebook now, and the fact that like I don't think Nick Clegg realizes why he works for Facebook.
Well, I
think Facebook know why he does, but he doesn't.
I think that's going to be sort of the crux of this segment, is Nick Clegg's role as sort of professional piss pig.
Yeah, exactly. They just send Nick Clegg out. Like, all the guys on the Facebook board are, like, watching this and laughing at Nick Clegg. Like, that's what's going on.
You think like, there's, like, a Carrie situation? Like, Nick Clegg's going to be...
They have a metaverse that's actually as good as they say it is. Nick Clegg has never been allowed to see it. They sent him out with the joke one.
He's spiritually a Lib Dem. He's managed to maintain his role in the coalition, but just by working for Facebook, of just being the guy who like carries the can for everything.
Well, weirdly, that is exactly what the article points out. Like, this is not so different. It's that Nick Clegg goes into these impossible to win scenarios, gets completely fucking humiliated, and then turns around to like everyone he knows and journalists and stuff and is like, I achieved some things. It's like, cool, man. Great. No,
Yeah,
so look,
Is Facebook are doing a 10p charge on plastic bags.
Yeah, the Party for Moderate Reform within the system triumphs
Indeed.
again.
so this is in fact sort of the thrust of the article, right? It's Nick Clegg trying to make this case that he is somehow, through his fucking sophomoric sort of philosophy of empowered individuals communicating and making choices to change institutions for the liberal or whatever from within. You know, the kind of very, like I say, sort of kind of naive, but like not a naive idea that's held by powerful people. So it doesn't matter if it's naive or cynical. The results are still, bad or laughable.
Changing the police from the inside, but instead it's Facebook is very funny, objectively.
And so he says, and basically, right, he joined Facebook to be their, like, government. I think he thinks he joined because of his Rolodex of contacts in the EU. I think he actually joined to just be a little piss pig who gets like shamed in public.
Yeah, they told him that they needed a lobbyist. But you'll notice that Facebook or Meta has not gotten any serious lobbying done because nobody's taking Nick Clegg's calls because everyone identifies him as just this kind of like, piss pig figure.
Well, it's they have in Europe, but it's not through him. It's through like funding think tanks and so on. It's not through him making some calls.
Yeah, the Nick Clegg Institute.
Yeah.
That said, I would fucking love that job. Like his job is to do nothing, right?
Oh yeah,
and he probably gets paid like $1 million.
He gets paid more than Satan to do this. I would absolutely. I would sell every single one of you and every principal I have to do Nick Clegg's job. Absolutely.
No, Milo, $1 million. No. Someone who works for Nick Clegg gets $2.5 million. Someone at his level gets about 50.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible. Cool. Look, if Nick Clegg, if you're ever tired of being a piss pig, I will do that job.
but also,
that's
do that
like
job
the
for 6
deal
months.
that he's made, right? Is you do the piss pig thing, you soak up all of this abuse, and in return, you get a small palace on Mars where everybody's going to live when Earth becomes uninhabitable, right?
Yeah, no. Nick Clegg gets to like live in Mark Zuckerberg's doghouse.
And to be fair, it's a very nice doghouse.
Oh yeah, of course. But everyone else gets it's that he sleeps at the foot of the bed, or maybe he's like buried with Zuckerberg.
It beats like the rain-slicked slums of Neo Dalston or whatever. But like.
Yeah. Nick Clegg is eating the finest kibble available to mankind.
Why did you find an interview of Nick Clegg just doing Cypher's thing in the Matrix where he's like eating a really like raw steak?
So no, this is the article starts. I find in the meeting room, I find the one-time deputy PM of the UK is now a wrinkle-free avatar with the word Nick hovering above it. And then this is going to set the tone.
Actually what he looks like in real life.
This is going to set the tone for the rest of the article. Nick Clegg says, "Can we get the sneering and mockery out of the way, please?"
That's how Nick opens a sexual encounter.
You say hello to this man, he just flinches from you. It's almost sad. He's like fucking Reek by this point,
Yeah, he's that kid at school who's so bullied that like he just avoids everyone instinctively.
So, sadly, we don't have any trousers on. We don't even have legs. To quote the Microsoft computer science,
that's a good reason not to wear trousers. To be fair, they've short-circuited that one, baby.
To quote one Microsoft computer scientist, Meta's vision of the metaverse has so far not resolved basic issues of geometry. It's so bad. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's PlayStation Home, if you remember that.
It's just
except PlayStation Home, as a fan of the show reminded me, actually looked better than this. PlayStation Home, they had legs. You could wear trousers in PlayStation Home. you know?
They haven't rolled out trousers in the metaverse yet. No, it says
we won't need trousers.
It says Clegg is undeterred. He holds his meetings with his team every Monday morning like this. Quote, I do feel like
wearing trousers.
I do feel like I'm sitting next to you. But is this believable? Clegg's facial expression is computer generated, so I have limited insight. Which again, that's like, have they not thought about that? Like, you press button to smile? What the fuck? How's that gonna fucking work?
Yeah, like how is this better than video conferencing? This is what they can't answer you.
So that you can become a VTuber to, you know, alleviate your crippling gender dysphoria, or so that you can avoid, you know, the vicious sneering and mockery that everyone who speaks to Nick Clegg apparently inflicts on him.
Yeah, but was he like the only person who was in the focus group for designing this? He was like, "Look, I just want something where people will finally stop sneering and mocking me."
Yeah, like we focus tested this with Nick Clegg and a selection of random British people, and every single one of them started doing Ben Kingsley bits from Sexy Beast at him.
Since joining Meta, Clegg has been its chief diplomat, its corporate shock absorber, because his role involves supervising.
It's crash test dummy.
Corporate shock absorber. Okay, a fair play to Henry Mance for that one. That's good.
It's just, it's a look. Nick Clegg is to Facebook what like the skis are in a pontoon plane, just smashing the water.
Smashing his face into the ground.
Nick Clegg, Facebook's ablative heat shield.
So it involves supervising communications, content policies, lobbying, etc. The one main decision he was able to lead, because most of the article is about how impotent he's been, was to suspend Donald Trump for praising rioters after the U.S. election. But when a whistleblower, Frances Haugen, we spoke about her, leaked documents showing that the company had realized what a negative impact it had on mental health, democracy, all that, Clegg went on TV to say, no, it doesn't. And what's very funny...
Also, banning Trump from Facebook was a lot less impactful than banning him from Twitter. That was the thing that like really damaged him in terms of social media.
Well, also it's like he didn't really.
That's the thing I'll never forgive them for.
They did take away some fantastic tweets, but on the other hand, they took away his ability to like coordinate a bloodless coup or smotherings through weird boomer posts.
I don't know. I think I mean, look, I don't know.
Look, it helps a lot of people get to work on time. It's impossible to say whether or not it's bad.
I would really look. I've often said this. I just want him to. I want to hear his opinion on everything except politics. Everything. Yeah. There's nothing I don't want to hear his opinion about except politics.
Replying to Joe Biden's tweets.
Ooh,
that would have been awesome.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Donald Trump simply replies to Joe Biden's tweet with like ratio. Right.
Great. I think that would have been fun. I think, and also like, I don't know, Biden's basically decided he can't do anything, so fuck it. Who cares? Like at this point, I don't know why bother.
Do the donuts. Let me see him do the donuts in the little fucking car.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm now just imagining
Donald Trump, French counterterrorism officer.
it's Nick Clegg, like applying for this role at Facebook, and then him like asking what the job involves, and they're like, "Are you familiar with the Dubrovka theater siege?" Because if you take that as an analogy, you are kind of like the terrorists and the hostages, and we are kind of like the Spetsnaz.
So they say one former senior Meta employee just described this as Zuckerberg and Sandberg wanted a front person to take all the beatings.
Now that's leaning into the beating.
So some kind of boy to be whipped.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And also, like, look, the whole thing about banning Trump, like, I don't know, if you think that the Trump ban and the January 6th stuff was serious, which I don't really, then, like, look, it's debatable, but I think a lot of people make it more serious than it actually was.
Sure.
And then it's like mostly what Clegg did was just follow the consensus of what got done. I don't know if he actually...
I think it's very funny, like... Nick Clegg's the least interesting part of this. What's more interesting to me is Mark Zuckerberg being so deer in the headlights that Nick Clegg provides like decisive leadership.
And decisive leadership to basically follow the crowd. Like, I think maybe like that comes down to also Facebook's audience being different, all that stuff.
Oh, when I say decisive leadership, I'm being like comparative.
Yeah, of course. Anyway, so Clegg says he also wanted to be certain that he would have the power, quote, within the company to make the changes that I think are necessary, which so far have involved banning Trump when everyone else also did it. And then doing nothing else.
Great.
Thank you, Nick.
I was going to reform the system from the inside, but then when I got inside of it, it's fine, actually.
Yeah, everyone agreed with Nick about banning Trump, which is why they did it before he did.
So he says, the problem is that during Clegg's time, Meta's reputation has not improved at all. One idea that Clegg's team considered was, and we talked about this actually on the episode where we talked about Spotify's AI defense company, right? One idea that Clegg's team considered was fact-checking politicians in autocracies but not democracies. But then no workable definition of democracy could be found.
I love the idea of giving Putin like a Pinocchio rating. That's so funny to me. Just like, people of Russia, I think someone's been telling some porcupine.
You know, I think he didn't find those amphorae himself.
Yeah, like I certainly wouldn't vote for him after that.
Yeah.
The people of Russia should engage in some democracy by not voting for Vladimir Putin.
But also, like, yes, it's Facebook against the autocracies, but we just can't define what they are. It's weird how our definition of autocracies just always keeps seeming to line up with countries that NATO is opposed to, except we can't do that, obviously. And so it's almost the same problem of
Mohammed bin Salman getting a 0 Pinocchio rating.
It's the same. Yeah, that's right. He didn't lie. He told the truth about what he's doing.
Telling the truth. Yeah.
But no, it's like it's such a sophomoric idea as well. Just fucking so stupid. It's just like, yeah, we're gonna fact check. We're gonna fact check politicians and autocracies. If only we could define it. It's a pure. It's a pure Dunning-Kruger vibes-based way of trying to govern something.
Remember when Twitter was trying to, like, they hadn't sort of got themselves ready to ban Trump yet, but they tried to, like, neuter him by every time he posted something like, stop the count, thieving Democrats steal the election or whatever, they would put a fucking little, like, informational box underneath it that's just like, this isn't true. That's so fucking weak. And Facebook doing the exact same thing, and then not even being able to do it is just that much more pathetic.
Well, so
awesome.
Explaining this problem, he says to Henry Mance, if you or any FT readers have got any neat answers about how on earth we're meant to deal with political speech generally, please put it on a postcard. We're acutely aware that as a private company...
I think Matt Christman had one on the election night stream.
We're acutely aware that as a private company, we don't have legitimacy to act as referees, yet that's exactly what we end up doing because the politicians themselves don't come up with the rules of the road. And it's like, well, I guess
rules
that's a question.
Begs for more rules, right?
But also it's like, oh, well, I guess that's a question for the philosophers. Let's not ask how we got into this position or whether or not we should even be in this position. It's a given that we are. And sorry, I guess we have zero democratic accountability, but we're just going to create the rules of the road, so to speak, anyway, because who else is going to do it? By the way, also, we made the road and forced everyone onto it. There's just, it's just such, for someone who likes to sort of, like, look, I mean, the scorpion's going to sting the frog, right? I'd like the scorpion to not sting the frog. I'll sort of do everything in my power to try to prevent the scorpion from stinging the frog, but I don't blame...
Nick Clegg was hired as the frog.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. But look, I don't blame the scorpion for stinging the frog. Like, you understand why sort of meta does what it does. It's in its nature. And then to just get this guy who believes that by dint of how much he understood John Stuart Mill, he is going to be able to come up with exactly the right rule, right, that alters the fundamental constitution of this thing, which is the monetization of interaction that is realized that it can juice interaction by sort of making the stakes seem infinite and making interaction allowing it to be frictionless, which has just given rise to these allow a million different scams to bloom, whether that's sort of Ponzi schemes or, allowing a kind of, not creating right-wing politics, certainly, as again, I think some liberals believe, but certainly providing it with its dream sort of channels of dissemination to people.
And making it that much more conspiratorial and that much more virulent.
And also, crucially, enabling boomers and Gen X to get into copy-pasta shit that we were all into when we were like 11.
Absolutely.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of...
It did give us that one Facebook group where everybody posts like they pretend to be boomers. And I think that's quite charming.
Yeah, to be fair, that is quite funny.
So it says another
writing
paragraph.
like "Thank you, Sandra" in all caps. Right.
Another paragraph goes,
it shouldn't be funny, but it really is.
Joe Biden's electoral victory last year generated some hope within Meta that Clegg could become the company's president whisperer. Despite some progressive stylings in 2020, Biden spent most of his career in the center lauding consensus building. But in the White House, he's largely delegated tech policy, and Meta has struggled
in the White House, he's largely like been
sleeping.
Yeah, sort of staring emotionlessly at damask wallpaper.
Yeah, just stroking the back of Joe Biden's head and going like, shh, 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 shh.
In the White House,
that's pretty much what his like chief of staff has to be doing most days.
Yeah, and just
it's
be
that
like,
the role of president whisperer has already been taken because our man is sundowning in there.
Yeah, Joe, you're peeing in the cupboard again.
Yeah, Joe Biden was quoted as saying, "Oh hell, man."
In the White House, he has largely delegated tech policy, which is true to like one of the few, I think, could be worse things about his administration, which is, at least so far, the pugnacious noises he's making on antitrust. And Meta, the article goes on.
Pugnacious noises he's making to the wallpaper.
Yeah, pugnacious noises, Jonathan Price drop, please.
Fuck.
And
Jesus.
Meta.
Yeah, the pugnacious noises. Strong words there from the president.
That's right.
And Meta, the article goes on, has struggled to find a well-known Democrat to oversee its lobbying operations in Washington. Quote, Facebook is simply too unpopular among most Democrats for their message to even be heard, says one lobbyist. Nick Clegg is not going to be able to change that. And it's like, yeah, because it's not his role to change it. It's his role to get up and get yelled at and then go and hopefully gets enough money that he's going to be one of the people who gets to live on Mars.
Yeah, cool.
So this is
fuck. Nick Clegg's got this all right. His wife is hot. He's making like $50 million a year.
He's gonna get to live on Mars.
Yeah.
He's gonna get to live like period.
Yeah, he just has to be like slightly pathetic. Like, yeah, whatever. My life is pathetic. Who cares?
It concludes. This is
God,
Nick
we
Clegg
should all
speaking.
fucking sell out. I could be Charlotte Clymer by now.
Do you think Charlotte Clymer's making 50 mil though?
Social climber.
Well,
but
I think she's doing a fuck of a lot better than I am.
The problem is, for people who hate Nick Clegg and hate the coalition, this is Nick Clegg talking. They're going to say that anyway. So what am I supposed to do? Am I a morally feeble human being?
Am I so out of touch?
No.
His avatar seems to fill up with a familiar exasperation, and then he adds, "I just don't live my life according to what people who disagree with me most think."
Yeah. I wake up every morning and I'm thankful to the haters for making me who I am.
I love that, just being like, just Nick Clegg, who just British people just think back to like what he has done since he has had the power to do anything, asking himself as he's morally feeble. Tighter benefit sanctions in exchange for a plastic bag charge. Whether or not he is cynical, mendacious, or just a fucking coward.
I think he describes it best himself. Morally feeble.
Yeah.
Morally feeble. There he is.
Nick Clegg psyching himself up to go and get yelled at by a congressional committee by listening to Soulja Boy tell him.
Yeah, that's right.
No, this interview really has the vibe of Nick Clegg sitting alone listening to Creep.
Oh, yeah.
The hell am I doing here?
Creep, like 2025 re-release that's about being on Mars.
Yeah, that's right. I'm in a doghouse, but it's better than being on Earth. Anyway, look, I think it's time for us to sign off in the old sign off
Yeah, in
process.
the most traditional way that we do this.
Yeah.
Just
Amazing
like
things
every
are happening in
episode.
China every day.
listening to
Incredible things.
Jonathan Price make kung fu noises.
That's right.
All right. I think that's going to be it for me. And I think that's going to be it for at least me before Christmas. Yes. This is the last episode.
And we'll end the show with a sing-along.
I was stalling because I was opening up my calendar and I accidentally sang.
We're going to spend the Christmas period working on our fucking Flanders and Swan tribute.
Yes, it's us and Jonathan Price. He's beatboxing.
Perfect. Right. So look, this is the last you're going to hear from me before January. But hey, guess what? I'll see you in January, and the rest of these jokers are going to see you before that, especially Nate.
We'll be even more of the Joker by then, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. Right. So, from me, happy Christmas and holidays and other such things to everyone.
Yeah. Happy Saturnalia.
I'm gonna say happy holidays because I want to be inclusive and also trigger the conservatives.
Yeah, that's right. I'm under arrest. Milo is also under arrest, but that's because it's Saturnalia and the slaves are kings and the kings are slaves.
Yeah. These days, you say it's Saturnalia, you get locked up by the vigiles and thrown in the castle room. It's the country's gone to the dogs. Yeah.
What can you say? Don't like it? There's the Porto.
Yeah, that's right. Don't like it? There's a vomitarium. Yeah. Look, what I'm saying is, if Cato the Elder was in charge, it'd be a different fucking story. He'd sort them right out.
Wait. So this character that you're doing right now is like a kind of staunch Republican.
Yeah. He's like an old school Republic guy.
All right. Look, I'm going to end the podcast now. Happy holidays, everybody, from me and us.
From our home to yours.
They should bring back Sulla. He'd fuck them right up.
Yeah. Graka, a couple of tots.
Yeah, that's right. I tell you what, if the Wokerati came face to face with a prescription list, they'd change their tune.
That's it. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.